Hello and welcome to the Red Zone's exclusive coverage of the Magic the Gathering Philippine Nationals 2017. This is Alvin Dibuncho,
And I'm Gerald Legao.
and it's finals time, with Ian Mark Gutierrez running green-white ramp and Ryan Espano with white-blue Eldrazi. So JR, this matchup is one of these people in this matchup is there. He's someone that we've seen before, whereas Ryan Españo's white blue Eldrazi, we really haven't gotten coverage of him yet.
Yeah, I forgot which matchup he did during the quarterfinals, but during the semifinals, he was able to beat a Timor deck. So I'm guessing uh, it could probably be the better mid-range deck than Timor, but we're not really sure. But as far as this matchup is concerned, it's gonna be the same matchup as far as green-white is concerned, where it tries to delay, play some sweepers until it can eventually play the big fatties. But as far as blue-white Eldrazi is concerned, what the deck tries to do is just play mid-range size creatures and just try to give a beatdown. Now, the advantage of blue-white Eldrazi compared to the other decks is it actually has disruption in the form of Thought Knot Seer when it needs it, and it has protection with Abyssin, Archangel Abyssin, I mean, and it also has that sort of aggro sweeper factor by sacrificing its own creatures, walking ballistas, throwing all its counters, or the Eldrazi Scion, sacrificing itself to produce mana to flip Abyssin when it needs to. So there you go.
Yeah, so we have dueling Thraben Inspectors here from Ryan and Ian, and what we're going to have in the second turn, so we'll see. So to
Yeah, and Traben inspectors on both sides is actually a good thing for Ian because that just prevents Ryan from doing the damage that he needs to do. And right now, Ryan's taking a while to do his turn, which means he probably has a walking ballista in hand. And the reason he's taking so long is if he plans to sacrifice the ballista, then he'll attack with the Traben Inspector, and Ian doesn't really have a choice but to block, and then he sacrifices the ballista afterwards. But like I said, the reason why he was taking so long is that if he wasn't planning on sacrificing that ballista, then he shouldn't attack with a Traben Inspector. So that was what that decision was all about. And as you can see, he attacked and did sacrifice that ballista.
oh yeah, so Ryan played in Shafet Dunes there, the white desert, that you tap to give your creatures +1/+1 until
Yeah.
end of turn by sacrificing a desert. And on the other side, Ian plays um, another plains, and gets another Thraben Inspector for that. So two clues on his end, but no greens as of this time.
Yeah. Ryan, on the other hand, is facing the same predicament where his Traben Inspector is still not going to be able to get in for damage. And he's still taking time again, which could mean he has another ballista in hand and does tap for two and cast it, meaning that Inspector won't be attacking.
Okay. He played one of those Amonkhet tap lands, cycling lands, bicycles. I think those it's called.
No, is that what people call it now?
And I heard that's what
Because
they
it's by
irrigated farmlands. Oh, and Ian doesn't play a forest. He plays a scavenging
scavenger
grounds.
ground. Yeah,
The
unfortunately, still no green.
Yeah, that would have been a um, like the enchantment that gives you life or a clue.
Oh,
Wielding wood.
does he have it?
No, there's no green, so
Oh, no, but does he have it in hand?
I didn't notice. But what he did play was the desert that you can sacrifice to, and sacrifice the desert to remove all players' graveyards. Would that have a relevance in this matchup?
Well, it's a desert that you could use for the other desert, so
Oh, that's true. It also triggers his Hour of Promise.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, so he attacked with both, and pumped his ballista after blockers were declared. So the three inspectors blocked each other, but then after combat, he removed one of the counters to deal lethal damage to the other one, bring it down to 18 life.
Yeah, and now we just need to see if Ian will be able to um, find a forest, and he does. I believe that's Scattered Grove.
Yeah, that would be Scattered Groves, the forest plains cycling tapland from Amonkhet.
Okay, so question now is, does Ryan have a land? Because we've been seeing that checklist card in his hand for a while now, and I believe that's Abasin.
Okay, so he played another scavenging ground as well. Looks very similar. The lands that they've had are
Oh, except
almost
for
mirrors.
for green and white.
Well, yeah, except for green and white, but we're both
Yeah.
Amonkhet cycling lands that came down, and both have scavenging grounds. So now he breaks it with a fortified post,
Well, village.
a fortified village. Yes, the show land.
Oh, if only he had the fortified village first, that would have been able to come in untapped. But you know,
Well, he's not yet at 5 mana, but do you think he has a 5 mana spell that he wants to cast at this point?
oh well, because he hasn't really cast anything but Draven Vector, so we don't know if he has ramp cards or the sweepers in hand. But I don't know.
What did he keep then? You know,
He kept two Trabens thinking that the clues would. I mean, the draws and the clues would eventually get him the green, which means there's some sort of ramp. So there you
okay,
go.
so there's a
Weird
weird thing.
one.
What? Yeah, the enchant land that when it comes into play creates a clue token, and you can tap the enchanted land to give you 2 mana of any one color to your mana pool. Classic ramp card.
No, not classic, but
Well, for standard, that I remember playing a ramp deck, and that's the same thing that I
yeah,
got.
it's been here for a year. And yeah, like we said, Ryan had his fifth land and didn't play anything, which obviously means it's Abyssin. And now we get to see if he does that Abyssin rush thing, because he has that hanger. No, keep saying hanger back. The walking,
Walking
ballista
ballista.
on one, which could
I think.
put Ian down to 15, which
Yes,
he
I think
does.
he does.
So during upkeep, Ian goes to 12, and Avacyn swings for another 6, so that puts Ian down to 6. So things happening very quickly.
Wouldn't you have? Isn't there like a 2 mana white card that kills an attacking creature?
There is, but
He didn't have
question
it.
is if he has it in the deck.
Oh,
We I
that's
think
true.
I think he doesn't, in short, because we have seen the deck lists. So most likely Ian's just gonna crack that clue end of turn and just gonna take the damage. And I believe the reason why because remember, he could he or well did he oh yeah, because he wasn't able to cast Fumigate last turn anyway because he didn't have 5 in tap land. So
Mhm.
this is the perfect time for him. I mean, this is perfect timing for him because he possibly gets to do it next turn with Abazin already in play. But question is if Ryan has Thought Knots here for that.
And Thought Natsir comes into play.
Okay, so we finally get to see Ian's hand.
Ooh, two Ulamogs, um, a setting approach of the second son of Fumigate. A thank you for turning it upside down. Is that a
Spring to Mind and Gift.
spring to mind and gift? Yeah,
Gift
gift of paradise.
So, Fumigate, the obvious choice here. But I guess Ryan's just writing down the cards like what any good player does during the top 8. So he's in no trouble at all at the moment because he gets Fumigate. Um, if Ian doesn't get another Water one, then he doesn't have a choice but to cast Approach and just dies next turn, right?
Well,
Well, no, not that, not dies immediately, but
if he draws a land, he can play approach.
oh
It
yeah,
brings,
6. Oh yeah, okay. So Fumigate's still the better draw here if he,
of course.
but oh there, well there's a land, so
At
we
the
already
very
know
least, we're
that.
gonna get an approach.
Well, not the very least. That's it because we know his hand.
Oh yeah, that's true. That was a land. So yeah, so approach with the second sun, sorcery that gains you 7 life, and if you cast it again, you win the game. But it does shuffle itself under the top 7 cards of your deck. So it's the eighth card that you're gonna draw.
Yeah, and Ian's not gonna have enough time here. This is another 10 damage coming in the next turn, and remember, oh, that's spatial contortion. So that's actually lethal. That's Xaxis.
Yep, that's 6 plus 4 and 3. That's lethal damage, and so game one goes to Ryan Espano.
And we hear a loud applause from the crowd there. Everyone's almost done. This is the finals. Everyone's almost done with the side events and everything. So we have a crowd watching them.
So do you think that was a good keep? Do you think he started with 2 Ulamogs in his hand and maybe or an Ulamog and a approach?
If he started with an Ulamog in the approach or two Ulamogs, then that would have been I mean, it would have been the same as mulliganing because it's like they're not can't really count those cards. So what I think he had was the two Trabens, 3 lands, none of them forest, a Spring to Mind, and probably the Weirding Wood because
Mm.
that would have been really good, or maybe the Fumigate and
Mm-hmm.
not the Weirding Wood, but well, one of the ramp spells and the
Mm-hmm.
Fumigate.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he drew one land, well, he needed to draw 2 lands, one of them being a forest, and then that would have been the perfect hand. But he didn't, and that was the problem.
Okay, so we skip forward here, where they finished doing their sideboard, and now they're cutting each other's deck, and so we're gonna go on to game number two.
Yeah. So sideboard wise, we don't really know what Blue White Eldrazi will be doing. Well, we do know he's gonna put in Warping Whale to combat the ramp cards. Question is what Ian will be doing as well. Like, I mean, because remember this green white ramp sort of plays in a way where it switches to a so sort of a Caracal deck on game two. We've seen it. We've seen him done it a bunch of times. He probably does it almost all the time, I guess. So question is, does he still do it here, and how good is that gonna be?
And so we see Ian start out very similar with a Thraben Inspector and another Thraben Inspector. How about that? That the chances of getting that is astronomical. But hey,
Hey, I
apparently you
mean,
can.
not
Yeah.
really astronomical, but
Well, okay. Well, it's very unlikely, but very very lucky for him to have the
yeah.
exact same opening. Whereas Ryan, unfortunately, has a tap land to start out with, and being on the draw, um, doesn't really hurt him, I guess. But he also Ian plays a tap land as well. But having two of his 3-man inspectors in play, yeah, not bad.
Actually, well, you could argue if that's actually good because he needs the first one to block a potential Traven Expector from Ryan's side, but you don't really need the sec. Well, I guess you could mass block the Traven Inspector, but I mean, it does as much good as the first one anyway. I mean, like one would be enough to prevent Ryan from attacking, and the second one just, well, eventually you can cash in the clue, but early game it doesn't really do much.
Yeah. So Ryan plays a Chef at Dunes and passes the turn. Ian plays a Shrine of the Forgotten Gods, a the land that produces two colorless mana if you have seven or more lands.
Oh, but
Keep,
only to pay for colorless spells.
yes,
People sometimes
only to
forget.
play for colorless spells. Yes.
So the weird thing here is it's Ian who's giving the beatdown.
Yeah. So Ryan's now down to 17 from Thraben Spectre attacks.
So what could he be possibly thinking of doing end phase? Is he thinking of throwing away a warping whale to ramp to Thought-Knots here? I guess that's the only thing that he could possibly be considering, considering his deck list. Okay, so we do get that warping whale, and we get a Scion. So this is obviously Thought-Knots here, or maybe something else. I don't know. Or maybe he doesn't have land. That could be a thing.
That would be a bad position to be in if you don't have if
That
you
I
have
have
to create
land.
a warping whale in order to create a to get mana.
Well, if he uses that warping whale to cast Sky Spawner, then that's kind of okay. But yeah, so he does have that land. I didn't get to see though if he he drew that or if he had that before. So now we get to see if he does have and would like to cast Thought Knots here, and that would tell me he's doing
Yeah,
it.
so Thought Not Steer comes into play, and we see Ian's hand.
Well, actually,
Well,
we don't.
we don't. There's a bright light. That looks like a Weirding Wood though,
It is.
and three bright cards.
Why didn't Ian cast Weirding Wood though? Why did he prefer to keep mana up for a clue?
That is a
Oh, because he doesn't have
doesn't
any
have any
more
more
lands in
lands.
hand.
So he'd think the acceleration would be mitigated by the card draw.
Uh, well, something like that. It's like if you could accelerate, but you don't draw land anyway. But if you get to draw land, then it's the same thing, and you still get to accelerate next turn. So yeah. So that's one of the situations where, like I said, the second Traven Inspector isn't really that good because had it been a land, then he would have cast that Weirding Wood and have 5 mana this turn. But
Okay, so
he
is that a
does.
cast out?
Yeah.
Okay, it just looks a white card from here, but I'm sure it's a cast out. So it's an
You can
enchantment
actually
with
see in
flash,
your screen that it's a cast out,
but not from our
not
vantage
from the
point.
thing. Yeah.
So that's a white enchantment with flash that, when it comes into play, exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls until cast out leaves the battlefield. Has cycling 1. And the beatdown of the Thraben Inspectors continues. Ryan's down to 15. But he does bring out a
So that's a Sky Spawner.
Eldrazi Sky Spawner and then a Eldrazi token.
The Scion that comes with it.
Scion, yes. That comes with Eldrazi Spy Spawner.
The
Um,
spawn, well,
the spawn of the Spy Spawner. Two and a blue creature Eldrazi drone.
yep,
Um,
and here's the wording mode. And so it's like Ian gets to draw with. Like, remember the previous matches where he always gets to draw with like 3 clues every turn.
yeah,
That's the third one. I mean, every game.
that's and he did remove his clues, and Thraben Inspectors continue their beatdown.
And so, oh, cause, huh? I wonder why he didn't keep one of them to block the Scion.
Well, I guess because if they don't, if the creatures are unblocked, I guess he feels his high enough life. I'm not really sure.
Well, because the problem is you can never really race with Blue White Eldrazi if that's a plan. So I don't know. Maybe he's planning on a fumigate. I don't know.
Okay, so the Sky Spawner and the Scion attacks,
And
bringing it down to
remember,
16.
Ryan's deck here playing with 4 copies of Abyssin. So if he has the fifth land here, that kind of puts Ian in a really, really bad spot. And he's taking a while. And I can actually see Abasin. I just don't know if he has a fifth land. Actually, see two Abasins? No. Oh no,
Yeah.
that's the other one's a land. So he
Okay.
does have a land. He has Abasin, Warping Whale,
And I
and
think another is it the desert?
I couldn't. It actually looks like Approach, but I know he doesn't play that.
I
So
know. I was gonna say the same thing, but that would be strange for a white bill Eldrazi to have approach of the second sun.
yeah. So
That's a strange sideboard.
so Ian here in really bad trouble because even if he has Fumigate, well, he's not gonna play Fumigate because that's just a Sky Spawner. But even if he has it, there's an Abyssin. Only question now is, does Ryan play that Abyssin, not knowing what other cards Ian drew?
All right, so Ian plays a Gift of Paradise. The other ram spell enchantment aura that enchants a land comes in, when it comes to play, gains 3 life, and he can tap the land enchanted land to add 2 mana of any one color to their mana pool. So he's
And
casting it on his his dual land,
scattered.
his Scattered Groves, which is
He's
strange
back to
because
19 and draws. So
and then you use it to crack a clue and draw a card. The
and
card advantage here is I think is key.
yeah,
Every one of
but
his games.
he hasn't played the land in like 2 turns already.
Well, that's I think the card draw is keeping him in this match
Yeah.
still. There's the Avacyn flashing into play, and will
So
he do the same trick from last game where
well, it's not the same trick because he doesn't get to do the one damage. But yeah, I know what you're saying. He doesn't have to though, because there is that sky spawner. But who knows?
yeah I think his board position is
It doesn't
better.
require him to do it, but
Yeah.
it still does do an additional 3 damage from the direct damage from Abyssin. So he does do it. And that also kind of protects him from Fumigate, because, it it nets Ian the 3 less life rather. Oh, he has 6 mana. So we do know he has Warping Whale. Question is, does he have another Eldrazi? 3 mana. Ooh, a Displacer.
Okay, so Eldrazi Displacer comes in. Can he uh can he displace Avacyn and then comes back into play, giving everybody invincibility,
Indestructibility.
indestructible? Yeah, indestructible.
Yeah, but you get well, it gets smaller. That's a problem.
I'm just saying in response to a fumigate or similar
Yeah, he
removal.
does. He does. The only drawback is it gets smaller. So
Yep.
he's actually safe from a Fumigate at this point.
So there's the
And
fumigate.
oh, but he decides to do Warping Well and the quick handshake.
Okay, the warping wheel counters.
He wasn't actually dead yet, though, right? But he probably figured next turn, he blinked the Habasin, but you know, that was really quick.
Yep.
And the handshake seemed a little bit premature, but he was drawing dead anyway, and just probably just didn't want to prolong the agony.
And
So
so we hear the cheers of the multitude of players from. I guess everybody's happy that they're able to go home now. But
those are probably his teammates.
that's true. Yeah. So right. So that's coverage for the Magic the Gathering Philippines Nationals 2017. Hope you enjoyed that. This is Elvin Dibunshaw.
And I'm Jer Legao, and we hope you enjoyed the show. And make sure to click like, leave a comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, and thank you to our sponsors, Ludus Games and Neutral Grounds.
Bye.